In 1984, a plastic watch cost $30. It was disposable. You bought 3 of them so you could match your outfit, and when the battery died, you threw it in a drawer. One of those designs is worth $22,600 today. It is not sitting in a museum. It is in a shoebox in somebody's closet, or tangled under a pile of chains in the same drawer as their jewelry, and the person who owns it has absolutely no idea. That is what this video is. 20 things from the 80s and 90s that are worth serious money right now, and every single one of them is the kind of object that lives in or beside a jewelry box. We are counting up to the one worth $22,600. 2 quick things before we start, because they explain why this is happening at all. First, the timing. Collectible markets run on a clock of roughly 20 to 25 years, because that is how long it takes for a decade to stop being dated and start being nostalgic. The 80s crossed that line a while ago. The 90s just crossed it. And the generation that actually owned this stuff is now in its 40s and 50s with money to buy its own childhood back. That collision is why prices are moving this year rather than someday. Second, the habit. And it is the same one that runs through every video on this channel. Turn the thing over and find 3 pieces of information. The name, the model number, and whether you still have the box. Those 3 things are the difference between $5 and $5,000, and we will come back to the box at the end, because it matters more than almost anyone realizes. Let us count them down. Number 20, class rings. We start with the object that gets scrapped more than anything else on this list, and with the least glamorous kind of value there is. Honest value. If you graduated in the 80s or 90s, there is a decent chance a heavy gold class ring is sitting in a drawer right now, and there is a very good chance somebody has already suggested you sell it for scrap. Here's what you should know before you do. Those rings were sold in 10 karat and 14 karat gold, and they were made heavy on purpose, because heft was the whole point of the product. A substantial men's class ring can carry a serious amount of metal by weight, which means it has a floor price that has nothing to do with sentiment or fashion. So do the arithmetic before anyone offers you cash. Weigh it in grams. 10 karat is 41.7% pure gold, 14 karat is 58.5%. Multiply, then check the public spot price of gold per gram, which updates every minute and is free. Now you know the metal value, and now nobody can hand you a number and call it generous. This one will not make you rich. It is here because it is the cleanest possible lesson in the difference between what somebody offers you and what a thing is actually worth. And once you can do that maths, every other item on this list becomes easier to judge. Number 19, charm bracelets and loose gold charms. Next to the class ring, there is often a charm bracelet. And this one has 2 separate kinds of value stacked on top of each other, which is exactly why people undersell it. The first is metal. Solid gold charms are small, dense little objects, and a loaded bracelet accumulates real weight 1 charm at a time over years. Nobody weighs a charm bracelet because it does not feel like bullion. It feels like memories, but the scale does not care about that. The second is collectability, and this is the part that gets thrown away. Certain charms are hunted specifically. Mechanical charms that open, spin, or move. Enamel charms in good condition. Charms from named makers, and figural charms of things that no longer exist, like old car models, dial telephones, and aeroplanes with propellers. Here is the practical instruction. Do not sell a charm bracelet as one lot to somebody weighing it. Take the charms off, look at each one for a maker's mark and a carat stamp, and check whether any of them do something mechanical. The bracelet is the cheap part. The charms are where the value quietly collected, exactly the way it did with the Juicy Couture bracelets we covered in another video, only with gold instead of enamel. Number 18, signet rings. The third gold object in that same drawer, and the one most likely to be dismissed because it looks old-fashioned. A signet ring is a heavy ring with a flat face, usually engraved with initials or a crest, and it was a standard gift through the 80s for graduations, 21st birthdays, and anniversaries. To a modern eye, they look dated, and worse, they look personal, because somebody else's initials are cut into the face, so they sit unworn. 2 things to check. First, the metal, because signets were made deliberately thick and they carry weight, so the same gram arithmetic applies. Second, and more interestingly, whether the engraving is hand-cut or machine-cut. Hand engraving shows fine, irregular tool marks under a loop and slight variation in the depth of the lines. Machine work is dead uniform. A hand-engraved signet from a real workshop is a piece of craftsmanship, and it is valued as one. And the initials are not the problem people think they are. A signet face can be recut, and plenty of buyers actively want a blank or recut face on an old heavy ring, because the ring itself is the thing they are buying. Number 17. Powder compacts. Now we step slightly sideways out of jewelry proper into the object that sits right beside it in almost every dressing table drawer in America. Through the middle of the 20th century and into the 80s, compacts were made in sterling silver, in enamel, in guilloche work, and by serious houses. They were an accessory people carried and were seen with, so they were built to be looked at. Two sources of value. The metal, if it is sterling, because a solid silver compact is a substantial object and it carries silver by weight. And the maker, because compacts by known names are collected in their own right, and enamel work in undamaged condition is genuinely hard to find, since enamel chips and most of these lived in handbags. Open it and look inside the lid for a mark. Sterling, 925, or a maker's name. And check the mirror and the hinge, because a compact with an intact original mirror and a hinge that still closes crisply is worth substantially more than one that does not, for the same reason a hinge told you the truth in the video about jewelry that breaks. Number 16, perfume bottles. Still on the dressing table, and this one surprises people the most, because the contents evaporated decades ago and the bottle stayed. The collectible ones fall into two groups. The first is crystal, particularly Lalique, which made bottles for perfume houses and whose glass is a collecting field of its own. Look at the base for a signature. The second is limited edition and figural bottles from the big houses, the strange shapes, and the anniversary editions, especially where the box, the outer packaging, and the original stopper have survived together. And there is a third category that catches people out. An unopened, unused bottle of a discontinued fragrance can be worth considerably more than the same bottle empty, because there is a whole market of people trying to buy back a smell they remember. Discontinued scents from the 80s in particular have devoted followings. So the rule is do not empty it, do not use it, and do not throw away the box. On this one, the packaging can be worth more than the object. Number 15, tie bars and money clips. Now into the men's side of the drawer, which is where a great deal of this list lives and where almost nobody looks. Tie bars and money clips are small, flat, easy to overlook, and they were made in solid sterling and in gold by real jewelers because they were standard gifts. Tiffany made them. Cartier made them. So did every good local jeweler in America. The value is straightforward. A sterling money clip has silver weight. A gold one has gold weight. And a signed one, from a house whose name you recognize, carries a premium on top of both, exactly as we covered in the Hallmarks video. Here's the specific thing to do, because these are the pieces most likely to be sold as a job lot. Do not let a box of men's smalls go as a bundle. Go through it piece by piece and look at the back of each one for a stamp. A single signed clip can outvalue everything else in the box, and the person buying the box knows that better than the person selling it. Number 14, belt buckles. This is a category almost nobody thinks of as jewelry, and the trade absolutely does. Two kinds matter. The first is Western sterling, the heavy handmade silver buckles from the American Southwest, often with stamped decoration, sometimes with turquoise, and frequently made by silversmiths who sign their work. Those are collected the same way Southwestern jewelry is collected, and the same rules apply. Hand-stamped decoration is beautifully slightly irregular, machine work is dead perfect, and a signature on the back changes the number completely. The second is designer, because through the 80s, the fashion houses put their names on buckles, and heavy branded metal from that decade is being hunted right now by exactly the same people driving the vintage clothing market. Weigh it, turn it over, look for a hallmark and a maker's mark. A serious sterling buckle is several ounces of silver before you get to who made it, and it is sitting in a wardrobe attached to a belt nobody wears. Number 13. Zippo lighters. Now to the object that turns up in every single estate sale in America and where a specific subset carries real money. The ordinary ones are worth what they are worth, which is not much. The value sits in three places. Commemorative and limited editions, because Zippo produced enormous numbers of special series and collectors chase specific ones. Sets, because a complete box set is worth far more than the same lighters separated. And solid brass and sterling models, which carry metal value underneath the collectability. To give you a real number, a set of 6 solid brass commemorative Zippos recently traded at $525 as a set. 2 field checks. The bottom of every Zippo carries a date code, so you can establish exactly when it was made in seconds, which matters because certain years are hunted. And condition is unusually important here, because these were working objects. An unfired lighter in its original box is a different item from the same lighter with wear. Number 12. Fountain pens. Another men's drawer object, and one where the 80s and 90s produced genuinely collectible material. Mont Blanc is the name to know. A Meisterstuck with an 18-karat gold nib trades around $550 in the current market, and the limited editions climb from there, with world limited editions around $700 and the rarer series well above that. The Writer's Edition and Patron of Art series, which began in this exact period, are collected seriously. What to look for? The nib, because a solid gold nib is stamped with its carat, and it is both valuable and the first thing a buyer asks about. The serial number, which many limited editions carry. And again, the box and papers, which on limited edition pens are not packaging, they are part of the item. And a warning that costs people money. Do not try to clean an old fountain pen by soaking it, and do not force a dried nib. Dried ink and old rubber sacks need a specialist, and forcing them cracks the feed. This is the same principle as the antique jewelry we covered, where enthusiastic cleaning destroys the value it was trying to reveal. Number 11. Lighters by Dunhill and DuPont. Above Zippo sits a whole tier that people genuinely do not know exists, and these turn up constantly in inherited boxes because they were the standard prestige gift of the era, tea. DuPont lighters were luxury objects, built in lacquer, in plated and solid precious metal, with mechanisms designed to be serviced rather than replaced. In the current market, Dunhill Rawlaga's models trade from around $130 up to nearly $500, depending on model and condition, and DuPont Gatsby and similar models sit in the same range, roughly $165 to $430, the details that move the price. Whether it still sparks and lights, because these were made to be repairable, and a working example is worth considerably more. Lacquer condition, because Chinese lacquer chips and cannot be invisibly repaired, and the case and papers, again. And here's the one that will make you look twice. A Chrome Hearts branded Zippo, which is a lighter, recently traded at $975, which brings us neatly to a name that appears again much higher on this list. If you are already going for the drawer, subscribe, because everything from here up is where the numbers stop being pocket money, and the top 4 are the ones that genuinely change a week. Number 10, original Ray-Ban Wayfarers and Aviators. Now we move to eyewear, and this is one of the most underrated categories in the entire vintage market. Here's the detail that decides everything. Before 1999, Ray-Ban was made by Bausch and Lomb in the United States. After that, the brand was sold and production changed, which means the phrase Bausch and Lomb on the frame or the temple is a date stamp, and collectors specifically want the pre-1999 American-made pairs. Look for the etching on the lens, the markings inside the temple arm, and the model and size numbers. Original glass lenses rather than plastic. And condition of the frame, because these were worn hard. The 80s Wayfarer in particular carries the cultural weight of an entire decade, and original pairs in good condition with their case are collected properly. The pair in your drawer with the scratched lenses is worth checking before it goes in the bin. Number 9, Vuarnet. The French ones, and if you were anywhere near a ski slope or a beach in the 80s, you know exactly what these look like. Vuarnet built its reputation on mineral glass lenses rather than plastic, which is a genuinely different product, and the brand was everywhere through the 80s. Original French-made pairs from that period are collected now, and the ones that carry the most interest are the models with the original mirrored mineral lenses intact. What to look for? Made in France on the frame. The original lenses, because replacement lenses drop the value substantially with collectors. And the case, which for eyewear is nearly as important as the box is for a watch. Number 8, Cazal. And here is where eyewear stops being an accessory and becomes cultural history. Cazal was designed by Kari Zaloni in Austria and manufactured in West Germany, and in the 1980s, the brand became inseparable from hip-hop. The Model 607 is the one to know, because Run DMC wore it constantly, and it appears on record covers and in the photographs that documented the entire era. The 951 and 955, designed in 1988, sit in the same territory. Original Cazal frames from that period are hunted hard, and the phrase collectors look for is stamped right on the frame, made in West Germany. That country stopped existing in 1990, which means those 4 words are a guarantee of the era, exactly the way an assay mark guarantees a period on a piece of silver. So if there is a pair of big, bold, unmistakably 80s frames in a drawer, turn them over before you assume they are worthless plastic. West Germany on the inside of the temple is the sentence you are looking for. Number 7, digital watches by Seiko and Citizen. Now to watches, where the rest of this list lives. In the early 80s, Japanese manufacturers were building things on wrists that had never existed before, and the strangest experiments are the ones collectors want now. Seiko produced an LCD watch in 1984 that could store 2,000 characters of text, which was an absurd idea at the time and is a landmark object now. Citizen produced chronographs and dive computers with functions that read like science fiction. The rule with these is that weirdness equals value. The models being collected are not the sensible ones. They are the ones with functions nobody needed, because those were made in small numbers and thrown away in large ones. Check the case back for a model number, and check whether it still runs. A working example of a rare 80s digital is a different object from a dead one, because these modules cannot always be repaired. Number 6, G-Shock Anniversary and Limited Editions. The G-Shock arrived in 1983 and became the most durable watch in the world, and the collector market has grown around specific editions rather than the ordinary ones. The example to note is the 10th anniversary model from 1993, which was produced in a run of 1,983 pieces worldwide, that number chosen to echo the year the G-Shock launched. A limited run with a commemorative reason is exactly the recipe collectors respond to. So on any G-Shock, look for an anniversary designation, a limited edition number, or a collaboration name. And the box matters enormously here, because these were sold as collectibles from the start, which means an unboxed example is competing against a market full of boxed ones. Number 5, rare Casio models. And here is where the humble calculator watch stops being a joke. Casio spent the 80s and 90s putting things on wrists that no one had asked for. The C80 in 1980 was the first calculator watch with a physical keypad, and Casio called it a microcomputer for the wrist. From there came phone books, television remotes, games, and sensors. The one to know is the TSX 1300 from 1994, which had a thermometer built in that could read the surface temperature of an object at a distance. A lot of 2 recently sold for over $1,970, and single examples trade in the range of $800 to $1,000 and above. The principle is the same as the Seiko. The stranger and more specialized the function, the smaller the production run, and the harder they are to find working today. A plastic watch that measured heat is worth many times what a plastic watch that told the time is worth, and both of them cost about the same in 1994. Number 4, Cazal at the top of the market and early Chrome Hearts. Now the top 4, and this is where the numbers get serious. Chrome Hearts was founded in Los Angeles in 1988, and unlike almost everything else in this video, it was never cheap. It is heavy, hand-cast, sterling silver, made in Los Angeles, with Gothic crosses and daggers, and it was worn by the entire rock and rap world from the beginning. The early pieces from the late 80s and 90s are the ones that have moved hardest in the last few years. Archive crosses, early daggers, the classic paper chain, the keeper ring. To calibrate how strong this market is, remember the number from earlier. A Chrome Hearts branded Zippo lighter, which is a lighter, trades around $975. The jewelry is a different conversation entirely. 2 warnings. This is one of the most counterfeited brands on the planet, so everything from the fake versus real work on this channel applies. Real Chrome Hearts is heavy because it is genuine sterling and it carries crisp, deep trademark stamps. Fakes are light and the engraving is soft and mushy. Weight tells the truth here exactly the way it does on a Cartier Love bracelet. Number 3, signed designer costume jewelry. We did 2 entire videos on this, so I will be quick and give you the numbers rather than the history, because they are the point. In the 80s and 90s, the fashion houses produced costume jewelry that is now collected like fine jewelry. A Chanel brass cuff from the 1980s made by Maison Gripois sold at auction for just under $5,000. A single pair of Yves Saint Laurent clip-on earrings sold for $2,772. A gilt metal and enamel Christian Lacroix cuff has sold for $700. Clip-on earrings. Read that again, because the clip back is exactly the feature that makes people assume a piece is cheap and dated, and it is the same clip back that dates them perfectly to the decade collectors are chasing. The rule is unchanged from those videos, and it is the rule of this entire channel. Turn it over and read the back. The name is the whole value. Number 2, the Swatch collections and sets. Now we arrive at the brand that owns the top of this list, and I am splitting it into 2 because the sets deserve their own place. Swatch launched in 1983 to save the Swiss watch industry, and the pricing was deliberate, $20 to $40, so you could buy several and change them like clothes. Disposable by design. The collector market that grew out of that is enormous, and the strongest performers are the artist collaborations and the complete sets. A full veggie line set, 3 watches designed by the Austrian artist Alfred Hofkunst and originally sold in fruit and vegetable markets, traded at $819. A set of 3 with AstroTurf straps went for $756. A Vivienne Westwood Putty model sold at auction for $347. The Chronotech reference from 1985 has sold for $1,100. The Velvet Underground models from 1985 have gone for over $3,000. The pattern is unmistakable. Named artist plus complete set plus original packaging equals the top of the market, and every one of those 3 things is something people threw away first. Number 1, the Swatch Artist series. And here it is, the object from the opening of this video. In 1984, Swatch commissioned the French artist Christian Chapiron, working under the name Kiki Picasso, to design a watch. 140 were made and 120 were distributed. Its market value today is around $22,600, and asking prices on the open market sit in the range of $6,800 to $8,500. The Keith Haring collection from 1985 sits in the same territory of desirability, with individual models trading in the hundreds and the complete collection worth thousands. And to give you the ceiling of this whole category, a single vintage Swatch collection sold for $1.8 million. Sit with the arithmetic on that. A $30 plastic watch, bought as a fashion accessory by teenagers, produced in a limited run, and now worth more than most of the fine jewelry this channel has ever discussed. Not because of what it is made from, because it is made of plastic. Because of who designed it, how few exist, and how many were thrown away. Now the bonus, and it is the thing that decides whether any of the items on this list are worth what I just said. The box. I have mentioned it on almost every entry, and here is why. For everything in this video, packaging is not packaging. It is part of the object. A limited edition Swatch with its original box, papers, and hang tag can be worth several times the same watch loose. A box set of Zippos outvalues the same lighters sold individually. A Mont Blanc limited edition without its papers is a pen, and with its papers, it is a collectible. A pair of Cazals in the original case is a different item from the same frames rattling in a drawer. And the 4 things that quietly destroy value on this list. 1. Throwing away the box, the papers, the hang tag, and the receipt, which is the single most common way people cut the value of these items by more than half. 2. Replacing the strap or the band, because an original strap in poor condition is usually worth more to a collector than a perfect modern replacement. 3. Polishing. On silver, on lighters, on buckles, on cases, aggressive polishing softens edges, wears through plating, and removes the crispness of stamps and engraving. Exactly as we covered with antique jewelry, cleaning is where value goes to die. And 4, the one specific to this list, a battery left inside a watch for 20 years. Old batteries leak, and leaked electrolyte destroys the module from the inside and corrodes the contacts beyond repair. If there is a dead quartz watch in a drawer that you think might be interesting, take the battery out today, before you do anything else. That one action has saved more 80s watches than any other. Now the honest note, because a video like this could easily leave you with the wrong impression. Most things from the 80s and 90s are worth very little. That is not pessimism, it is arithmetic, because these decades produced objects in enormous quantity. The ordinary Swatch is worth a modest amount. The ordinary Casio is worth less. The ordinary Zippo is worth what a used lighter is worth. What creates the value on this list is always the same 3 things. Limited production, a name attached to it, and survival in good condition with its packaging. Miss any one of those and you have a nostalgic object rather than a valuable one, and there is nothing wrong with that. This market is also young and it moves. Prices in a young collector market can climb fast and they can also settle, and anyone who tells you otherwise is selling something. So here's what to actually do. Go through the drawers this week and pull out anything from those 2 decades that you were about to throw away. Turn each one over and look for 3 things. The name, the model number, and any indication of a limited run, an anniversary, an artist, or a country that no longer exists. Then, before you sell anything to anyone who weighs things or offers you a flat price for the box, take the ones that pass to somebody who reads these markets. For the gold and silver items, a good independent jeweler, the same answer this channel gives every week, because they will weigh it in front of you and read the marks while you watch. For the watches and the eyewear, a specialist dealer in that specific category, because these are narrow markets and the value lives in details a generalist will miss. Now tell me in the comments what you found. The plastic watch in the shoebox. The frame stamped West Germany. The lighter you assumed was junk. Describe it and I will read every one, because the best finds on this channel always come out of the comments. This channel takes no sponsorships and no paid placements. No brand, no dealer, and no auction house pays to be praised or buried here. And that independence is the only reason I can tell you that a $30 plastic watch can be worth more than a diamond ring. If straight answers like this are why you keep coming back, the join button below makes you a member and keeps these breakdowns honest. Check the drawer, not just the jewelry box. And whatever you do, take the battery out. I will see you in the next one.